All right, well, thanks everyone for joining us. My name is Vincent. I'm one of the co-founders of Payload Studios, and we are one of the businesses that set up the Tentacle Zone. The Tentacle Zone is a kind of collaboration between different games companies. We started out sharing space on stands at consumer shows like EGX, and we moved on to sharing premises in London and sharing know-how, sharing knowledge, ideas, and so on. And it's continued even through the lockdown. And I have with me three different people from three of the businesses that have joined us as part of the Tentacle Zone. Maybe we can start quickly by introducing everyone. Chris?
Hi, I'm Chris, co-founder of Robot Squid, and I think we were one of the first, if not the first, member of the Tentacle Zone. And once people heard that the Robot Squid guys were in, it was like a magnet. You couldn't, and they kept on popping up all around us, and that's us.
Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm head of production and operations at Marvelous Europe. We're a publisher that we're residing in the Tentacle Zone.
And Andrew?
Hello, I'm Andrew Smith. I'm the creative director and founder of Spilt Milk Studios. I think we were the second in. Yeah, we were one of the ones that oh, Robot Squid are there. Let's go.
Yeah, it's been great to have you guys. So we have experts in mobile, experts in PC console, publishing experts. It's been really useful to have such a wide range of different businesses all in the same premises. If I could ask you really just to say what you think potentially has been the most beneficial to working in a co-working space with other games companies.
Who wants to go first? It's I've got a list as long as my arm, basically. I think from the start we've been super fans of the whole idea. We've always been quite open about how we develop games and building a community. And I'm old enough to have a company, but young enough to remember when it was really hard to figure out how to even skill up and get into the games industry. So it's always been a thing of like sharing knowledge and improving the industry by sharing. So the whole Tentacle Zone thing was just a kind of something we'd been waiting for really to happen. So I mean, Payload themselves, incredibly experienced and talented devs, and everyone else just adding to that. And I think it's easy to kind of like list some of the structured stuff, and I'm sure we'll talk a bit about that. But for us, I think it's the unstructured and the sort of almost accidental bonuses of being in a space with other developers. So it's the conversations over a coffee. It's the problems that you're looking gloomy in the morning and someone asks what's up, and they've solved this problem for you and you just never even would have thought to ask. I think it's that kind of thing that's the biggest bonus.
When have you ever looked gloomy in the morning? I don't remember it. Sarah, obviously Marvelous being a big international publisher, and this is their European headquarters. It's a different thing Marvelous is the oldest company that's with us, a very long established, very well respected publisher. What benefits do they get out of working with in the same premises as a bunch of other game companies?
Well, previously we were based at Tunbridge Wells. And we were looking to make that next step. Say in 2019, we decided that we wanted to grow in sort of our ambition, our team, our products. And we looked around at the gaming hubs. We could have looked at like Leamington Spa or Scotland, but we joined the Tentacle Zone because we really thought that we really gelled with the culture and the people there and what everyone wanted to sort of achieve. Say as the European arm, we're sort of a small business of a much bigger company, which is quite far away. Our headquarters being in Japan, having an environment with other people with other sort of cultural and diverse sort of people to work with has been a real benefit.
I was particularly excited when I heard we had a publisher coming in, because partially it's I can just pitch games over a cup of tea rather than having to arrange some big meeting. But realistically, it was just there's a lot of devs and across all the platforms that exist basically, right? And then having a publisher come in and the expertise there of like looking at the market in a different way and looking at opportunities. And I just think I was really, really excited to have you guys come in.
Well, it's been really helpful as well in other aspects when it comes to like finance and HR. So we've been able to be put in touch with people that's been to help us, I'd say, as a business. So that's been really helpful. And also there's a lot of talks from people for the Tentacle Zone that has been really helpful for growth of the team, getting to see different aspects of the industry and different disciplines. It's been great for growing as a team.
For us, it was about when you're a startup, you're often 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 people, and it's if you hire an office for a start, it's a massive headache organising it all, signing leases, getting an air conditioning engineer around, all that. You don't want that when you're focusing on a startup. You need to be focused on getting product out. So there's that aspect, but the main thing for us was when you're in a small company with just a few people, it can feel very isolating, and you spend a lot of time with those people, and it's just nice working in an environment where you can mix with other people, a bit like you would get a bigger organisation. Meeting different people for ad hoc chats and stuff, or just talking about what they're up to. It just breaks away from just focusing on your own thing, and I think it helps you mentally kind of change gear, as opposed to being in a tiny little office with 2 or 3 other people hammering it out 24 hours a day. It just breaks it all up in a really way. So that was one of the main reasons why we were so keen to join at the start.
Yeah, we when we started out, we were in a tiny office, in a serviced office, and all the other businesses were just people, we didn't really know them. There was no way of communicating. There weren't any big shared premises. Where we are, we've got a big shared kitchen, and everyone obviously can mingle as much as possible. It's kind of designed to encourage mingling. We have events we had events in the evening, either just social events or actual events where people would come and talk. If I could ask Andrew and Chris, just so I don't forget, I thought you guys have taken the collaboration a bit further after a chat that I was also present at, but I can't claim any credit for.
Weaponized it, didn't we? It was a Christmas party. I think we were just, one of these things is like, it's lovely to be in a group of people who, like, because you're like-minded and you're just sort of all, working together, broadly speaking, it's nice to kind of, celebrate each other's success. And I think I was just talking to Chris about like how brilliant we thought they were doing a job with King of Crabs on mobile. And I think, we sort of mentioned something about like, surely it would work on Steam and consoles, like the production values are up there and this, that, and the other. And I don't, this is the thing, right? It's a blurry memory now, so Chris might remember it differently. But I think basically Vince and I sort of harangued you into agreeing that it should have a Steam version, and then we sort of volunteered, and it sort of went from there. Is that how you remember it?
Because we're so mobile focused, it's very hard for us to think outside of mobile. And this is another reason why it's good to mix with other companies from different angles, different platforms. We had talked about it in the past, but not seriously. So after chatting with you two and with Spilt's expertise on porting to Steam and knowing all the ins and outs of a new platform, which was all alien to us, it was as simple as after maybe a 20-minute discussion and a bottle of beer, the deal was sealed, really. And we just said, that's the advantage of being in a small company. You can just say, let's just go for it. What's the worst that can happen, And it turned out to be a big success. And the success on Steam has resonated across to our mobile platforms as well, which has helped kick that along as well. So it was actually, at the time, it felt like a kind of small risky bet. We weren't expecting much of it, but it's turned out to be transformational, really, and it's led us to become a full a cross-platform company from now on, instead of just mobile focused. So that's the way these little sparks can happen when you're in a casual environment with other small startups. You can do these kind of ideas, and they gain traction, actually follow through very quickly. So I think it's a massive benefit from working in the Tentacle Zone.
And we've benefited a lot by being able to hassle you and your team with questions about publishing on mobile, which is not an area that we have a great deal of experience on, but we really need to get into it. So yeah, wait for more questions on that front. IP creation and confidentiality are sometimes cited as being issues that might be problematic if you have a bunch of different games companies working in the same premises. Were there any concerns about that at your end? That's open to anyone.
Not from us, because the global games business is absolutely ginormous, as we all know. So for us to be competing with each other, especially given the fact that we were working on completely different things, is a million miles away. I mean, that's the nice thing. Sharing data, sharing information, referring people to each other, all that kind of thing is zero. Okay, there's some issues around if you're prototyping a new game, you don't want to be released. You've got to be a little bit on the careful side. But other than that, no, we don't see it in that way at all. We see it as trying to help everyone in any way we can for the overall good, knowing that there's zero competition factor.
We had a talk by Stray Fawn a couple of days ago about how they combined with their competitors to even make a website dedicated to their type of game. And it seems that people working more with their competitors than in the past helps everyone, which is for me, being quite old, is quite a new thing.
I'm already thinking about when to pitch the Steam Tentacle Zone sale, because that's definitely a thing that Valve getting excited about, and I think we're in a really interesting position where we've got such a wide range of games from the Tentacle Zone. So if anyone from Valve is listening, expect an email.
That would be great. I hadn't even thought of that. Obviously, the pandemic hit and it took away our ability to meet up every day. The team have really made a huge effort to try to keep as much going as possible in the virtual space. How have you found that?
Well, I would say it's a real shame that we've lost that sort of meeting up in the kitchen and have a coffee break sort of situation. But as we've sort of kept that spirit going with the Tentacle Zone by having the coffee breaks that we have among all the companies, that we just take some time out of a week to just have a chat, not work related about anything. And I think that's been great for sort of our mental health and getting away from just working constantly, as well as there's been sort of joint games. I've definitely played a few games of Among Us that have been a lot of fun, just playing and chatting together, and especially we have the Slack channel and the Discord, just sort of keeps that spirit going, even though we're all apart at the moment. And I found it really useful.
Yeah, there's that element of like having this entity there, this Tentacle Zone entity that's like in charge of that stuff, right? You've got initially, as Chris was saying, like the sort of structural stuff that as a small business you need, but you don't really have the time to organize and manage, and that's one thing. And then this could have gone a whole other way if we were all in separate offices. Having someone else running the way that we transitioned from office to remote, even though a lot of us work remotely anyway, that essence of keeping the team together, keeping the community together, and ensuring that communication happens between companies. I think it would have been really easy for that to just get completely, annihilated, forgotten, and then really hard to build back up again. So that's something I'm really grateful for. It's something we've tried to sort of apply to our games communities as well, right? The people that play our games, and I think it's it's just one of those things that would have been like forever at the bottom of the to-do list, you know, and I think it's impossible to A/B test it, right? But I think it's basically been crucial for the past year.
Yeah, there's been some really good talks, and of course, because you build relationships within the Tentacle Zone people, you have a bigger network on your own. So to go directly to people like Spilt Milk, Actionacity, and various other people for whatever advice or whatever's going on, which you probably wouldn't have been comfortable doing had you not shared the working space and had a physical rapport with those people. You build up a relationship because you see them quite a few times a week, and so it gives you the confidence to build those relationships outside of the office.
Yeah, the Slack channel's been useful for that as well. And do we think that collaboration like this between different companies, sometimes competitors, is going to become more common in the future? It's certainly when I started out in games, it never happened at all, really. People were just developing in secret on their own. And now it's just not like that anymore. But is that a trend that's going to continue?
I think for me, it's tied to like the progress of the market and the tools and the growth and the ease of access to everything, right? So it's easier to make games than it ever has been, and it's easier to find your market than it ever has been, and the market's bigger than it ever has been, right? Like I don't know how long it's going to carry on growing, but it's basically going to hit, you know, almost everyone on the planet at some point. And I think in amongst that, what it means is that there's just so little around the traditional sort of business advantages, right? Like the knowledge that you have. It's like, well, everyone's using Unity or Unreal, you know, broad brush there, but there's no, you know, you would be secretive about your tech if it did have a genuine difference, you know, if it made a genuine sort of competitive difference. But for the most part, that's not what it is. It's about, you know, your particular game and the niche it appeals to. And that niche could be enormous, right? But it's still just a tiny portion of the global market, and so there's kind of room for everyone. That might change, but I think the collaboration will happen like and be normalized before that cap is reached, and then the whole industry will be able to react in a collaborative way, right? Like I think that's probably how it's going to go.
I think creatively, it's very hard to collaborate because every company's got their own flavor, you know, and they want the thing they're doing. So it's very hard to have a synergy with another company at that point. But in terms of, you know, cross promotion, porting, other services, or publishing, I think that is definitely the future. Higher level of collaboration.
Just to go back to some of the benefits of being in the same environment as other people, it's useful to talk a bit more about the range because we've touched on a few of them. So obviously there's the possibility of an actual direct collaboration, for instance, the porting of a game onto Steam. We've talked about people just bumping into each other, be able to solve problems. I mean, certainly I've been helped a lot by being able to speak to someone saying, who do you use for immigration issues if you want to bring someone else in from abroad, and they've already got someone that knows the games industry that can help. And it's also been touched on that we have started to, well, for a few months now, had a formal program of knowledge sharing where we bring in external speakers as well as where we talk amongst ourselves about areas that we have a particular expertise in. Which of those have you found the most useful in terms of the actual knowledge sharing? Or is there anything in particular that springs to mind from that?
Everyone's waiting for someone else to go first. We're all too polite. It's another shared attribute. I
mean, I found the talk from Stray Fawn about collaboration with competitors to be really interesting.
Yeah, I think that like one of the main things is like it's the aspects that you don't know you're going to need, right? So a lot of the time a talk will be put on like the one from Straightforward where you're like, oh, hang on, that's really relevant to something that we're going to be doing or that we think we should be doing. And so there's an opportunity there. And, you know, we wouldn't be able to get Philomena in on our own to just talk to us, right? Just like the 5 or 6 of us at Spilt Mount. And then there's things like, I know that there's a specific example, but like, wrangling, right? Business wrangling, like you say, the opportunity for, you know, going, oh, hang on, we suddenly have a hire that we want to make from outside of the country, and how do we do that? Who's approached that? And even down to sort of informal business advice when things are going wrong. You know, it's not even when things are going right necessarily that the value's there. I know a few times we've been able to pick each other's brains on sort of not crises or anything like that big, but you know, these elements of kind of the unexpected, right? And I think, you know, we've highlighted the fact that the accidental positives are there, but also the sort of unplanned support network, if you like, is tremendous. And as we have people come in from our extended network, so, you know, we have like a friendly games lawyer who does right by us, and we're happy to introduce him to the right people and that sort of thing. And it's just expanding that network in a way that just it's not even like a factor of multiplication, right? It's bigger than that. It's sort of like explosive in how much it affects the opportunities you've got, the support you've got, the things you can do, and like the ambitions you can have as well. Like it sort of resets your brain a little bit when you see someone else doing something successfully, and you can kind of, well, hang on, I never even thought about that. I'll go and talk to them about it. And just, that was all it took. Whereas normally it would be like, oh, I have to formulate a plan and realize I need it, and then book time, and then meet them, and then this, that, and the other. And it's all very transactional. Whereas with this kind of collaborative thing, it's just, you know, it all helps everyone. It all comes around, you know, it's pay it forward almost. It sounds a bit hippie, but it's not, honest.
There's definitely been some talks that have been really beneficial, and things that you don't know that you need to know. There was a great talk by Luke Gibson from the Tonic Group about scaling the game business, to say as they've grown so quickly over time, which it's been really relevant for us as we're growing as a company and recruiting more people, in terms of company culture and how you keep that sort of vision and the structure, and also things about internal communications. That was really interesting, as well as there was a talk on culturalization, which is really relevant for us because also we're an international publisher, and we have a percentage of our titles are Japanese titles that are made by Japanese developers, and then bringing them to the West and it had some really great interesting points about making sure that the titles are suitable for a global audience that may not assume that would need to be changed in certain ways to make it appropriate for different audiences. So the talks have been really useful for our team, and it's brought a lot of benefit.
Typical mute fail. We've benefited a lot from having people coming in to visit other members of the Tentacle Zone, people, delegations from Asia, people from large publishers or platform owners. And they quite, it helps them as well to be able to see a bunch of different companies on one single trip, rather than having to see them all separately. So it's been good for them as well. And how about recruitment? Because obviously that's a huge challenge. Does it help or hinder or have no effect to be in a shared space like that?
Well, it makes me jealous every time I see a new person get hired at Robot Squid. I'm not to throw Chris under the bus or anything, but
yeah, there's been a lot of if somebody in your company hasn't worked with someone who you're thinking about employing, you can say, oh, you might know this guy. Oh yeah, he's a cool, he's great, or she's great. So there's obviously that aspect of it. We tend to recruit from our own network, but there's been lots of whenever we've put the call out, we're looking for a new coder or artist. there's been some credible leads sent through, which has been really helpful, because obviously recruitment agency costs are ginormous. When you're a startup, you can't really afford them generally. So that's been really helpful. And I think as more companies join the Tentacle Zone, it will scale with that, which hopefully would mean less reliance on recruitment agencies and more hiring from within the collective network.
Yeah, we found not quite the same with the hiring, because most of our hiring has been done, funnily enough, since COVID. But up to that point and during, we were in a position to offer placements and internships, and it's been something that we just wouldn't have been able to do if we weren't at the Tentacle Zone. You know, just being like, oh, hey, Vince, this is really short notice, but can we get like 2 extra desks for 3 weeks? How much is that going to cost? You know, and it's just done. You know, and that's actually been really great for us. We've had like 3 or 4 little projects come out of it, prototypes that we've, you know, been sort of pitching with and developing further and releasing and various guises. And you know, we're quite motivated about, you know, getting kind of trying to make some change in how kids get into the industry and where they come from. And that's been something that's just, you know, we wouldn't have been able to even think about doing if it wasn't for being part of the zone. And then the fact that it's, you know, everyone there's so supportive and is such a wonderful place to be, you know, those people that come in have got more out of it than even if we had just run it in our own offices. So like on every level, it's just been better as a result. Not to mention when the sort of organizations come around, they're like, oh, wow, you know, it's all very impressive. And it's like, yeah, it beats 4 dudes in a room in some, you know, tatty skyscraper somewhere.
It's been great to say, because you guys are very, very advanced in working with interns and bringing people into the industry who are just starting out their careers. And it's been great to see that. And we've learned a lot because you guys have been doing it for a long time. You really know what you're doing. It's been brilliant to see it. And taking the cue from that and the inspiration from that, we started our incubator recently for new companies with owners from underrepresented groups. And obviously, I think everyone here has been involved in helping out either by mentoring or contributing on events, things like that. So that's been really great to see. What do you think about actually starting an incubator to bring more people who are traditionally not really that well represented in the games industry into the industry?
I've got a soapbox ready, but I mean, yeah, it's we're deeply passionate about it. I think it's an incredible sort of push and initiative that Payload are undertaking. I'm really sort of proud to have even been involved on the periphery, you know, let alone getting involved as a mentor. And I just think it's an opportunity where the bigger companies just don't see, because they're so set in the ways that make sense for them. And that's sort of fine. It's not like a criticism necessarily, but like this thing wouldn't happen anywhere else, right? And it's the fact that it's in London and it's the group of devs in the Tentacle Zone that it is, and the ways that we think about business. And like you say, there's like you can sort of trace the growth of the kind of the push to do it, right, through the maybe some of our interns, but then a lot of the talks and the diversity focuses that have been in a lot of the social events and things like that. And it's culminated in this thing that's going to meaningfully sort of impact the industry and the route into it. You know, we all as companies are aware that we should be pushing for as diverse a workforce as the global population, really, if we're like agreeing that the audience is global. But to make meaningful change, you know, you need those people coming in at the top. So to have it directed at like companies founded by these, you know, underrepresented groups is phenomenal. And there's like maybe 1 or 2 things a bit like it in the world right now, but to be kind of seeing this happen right here and right now, and to be like a small part of it is tremendous. I think, yeah, everyone should be getting involved if they can.
I was
Sorry.
Sorry, Chris. Sorry. I was just saying I couldn't agree more. I think it's so important to get people from different socioeconomic backgrounds and diverse people into the teams in order for us to make better games at the end of the day. So we really need a diverse teams that will have that feedback on. So we're working on growing our games and our characters and the diverse natures of them, and having people from different views is really important. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, similar sort of thing. I think it's a great initiative, and I think you're going to get some very interesting ideas coming out from those groups, which we people that have been in the industry, lucky enough to be in the industry for many years, have kind of like, we're kind of running out of, not running out of ideas, but we probably don't see outside the box, think outside the box a bit more. So if you get fresh new people coming through who wouldn't traditionally maybe have joined the industry, you're going to get different types of thinking, especially as the type of people play the games. As we know, the demographics has widened so much over the last few years. It obviously calls for a wider demographic. And I think it's especially good that you're going for underrepresented groups, because the games industry, dare I say, it can be a little bit middle class sometimes, because sometimes any creative career tends to be very risky. So it tends to be from people with backgrounds where they can fall back on their parents, if it doesn't work out or something. So giving them a little bit of a safety net and a little bit of a head start, I think is a great thing to do.
Vince, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were saying the other day that you had to change how many companies were accepted onto it from the initial plan, because there's just such a strength of ideas and content and people, right?
Yeah, we had originally 8 places. We had 60 applications. When I first saw the list, it had been narrowed down to 30, and all of them were clearly good enough and would benefit and benefit and help each other out a lot. And we somehow had to, we were able to increase the number of places to 12 from 8, but it was still a shame that we couldn't accommodate everyone. But obviously, after a certain size, it becomes too much to really be able to manage. But it does show that there's definitely a lot of demand for it. And as long as we can kind of perform our side of the bargain and do something that's really good, then I'd expect this is something that we'll be able to keep on running and make a definite contribution. But we gain a huge amount as well. As Chris said, I think we get ideas and it's always a two-way street. It's never just one group helping another. It's always a two-way street. Even if one particular group has much more experience, then that in itself doesn't make a huge difference. There's always more to be learned from people from different backgrounds, and so we expect it's going to help us as a business a huge amount, which has really been part of the kind of the ethos generally, that business objectives and other objectives aren't necessarily contradictory.
I was going to say there must be people watching this in a position that Payload were in, where they're like, well, we might have some spare room, or we might have the budget, but does it not clash? Is it not a distraction, to do something like the Tentacle Zone? But ever since day one, you've been just reaping the rewards, but clearly benefiting, and it seems to have just been something that should keep growing, right?
Yeah, it was never a plan right from when we started the business to do this. It just arose all by a series of chances, including meeting you guys at various stages and us having similar requirements in the same city. But it's become something that we will do forever. I think that's true for probably all of us. Sarah, I think you wanted to come in.
Oh, I was just going to reiterate that, I say it's fantastic to be part of the mentor program and to look at it in a cold corporate way. But we both get something out of it, as I say, we get to meet some fresh new talent, which bring some great games out. And it's really nice to be a part of that and help them grow in their careers and in their visions. So I would just reiterate it. Say they get the mentoring out of it, and we get connections. And I think it's a brilliant idea.
Brilliant. I think we're getting close to our half-hour mark. Does anyone want to add anything more just on the subject of collaborative workspaces?
Join one, or if you can't make one, I guess. Is that the... Should we end on a cheesy thing like that? But like, I don't know, like there has to be more companies that are in these positions, and maybe they're not in London, right? But you know, other hubs around the UK and the world, and it's just like, just sort of decide and give it a go, and like, you know, the rewards are there. You know, I think it's clear. Obviously, this last year has been a write-off for that sort of thing, but yeah, like, why not? Basically, it's like everything else. Just you're small enough to make the decision and just go for it. So do it. Yeah,
exactly. I'd say other areas are available, bar London. But I think one of the things about about COVID is that people are also connecting and building communities online, which then eventually may even lead to sort of physical hubs from there. I think it's only going to hopefully just keep growing and thriving and collaborating.
I think it's another reason to get out of the house. Obviously, everything's shifting to at least partial remote working. So you need to justify the time traveling to the office, and I'm sure you've got a flexible setup there in terms of office space. But if you're having to travel in, but you know you might meet lots of useful, helpful people as well as just your own company people, it'll probably give you more impetus to do that at least 2 or 3 times a week, I would say.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for your contribution.
Thank you.
No worries. Glad to help.
Yep. Thanks.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.